Hello friends, welcome. Friends, we are all eagerly waiting for satellite services. Now, if you recall, this whole debate about satellite services took place in India for so many years. There were multiple rounds of TRAI consultation. Some of the TRAI consultation did not result in recommendation because the main debate was anchored around whether the satellite spectrum should be auctioned or given administratively. Now, I have done multiple videos and articles about why satellite spectrum cannot be auctioned. And then finally, in year 2023, the government reconciled to the fact that satellite spectrum can't be auctioned, and they came out with the Telecommunication Act of 2023, where provision was made to give satellite spectrum administratively, right? Then TRA came out with the recommendation on what should be the spectrum usage charge for satellites, and that just came recently. And after that, the government of India gave LOI to operators like Starlink to roll out services in India, right? So this is the overview. Now, friends, why I'm doing this video? The reason I'm doing this video was that today morning I was surprised that there were so many articles which came out in the newspaper where TRAI satellite spectrum charges have been labeled as unfair by COAI. You see, there's Financial Express article, Communication Today article, Money Control article, Business Standard article, Business Line article, Mint article, Telecom Talk. So there have been so many articles. They were bombarding, everywhere, in each and every media house is bombarded with this article that how unfair TRAI recommendation has been. Now, friends, I really didn't want to do this video. But because of this, barrage of articles which has come out in the newspaper because of the COAI letter. So I thought of dissecting this issue because the viewers who are watching my channel should know the reality, because many viewers will already know because they might have already seen my videos and articles where I have clearly laid out the strengths and weaknesses of both satellite and terrestrial communication services. But because this is such an important issue and there are so many newspaper dailies which have published COAI letters, so it is my responsibility to tell you the facts. So what I've done, friends, I actually have printed out the letter or so-called article which came out in Times of India, because most of the articles which I saw did not, I didn't have the subscription, therefore I could not read out. So let me just read out the main theme of this article, which says, Airtel, Reliance Jio have reignited their concern over TRAI spectrum allocation recommendation for SATCOM companies, alleging a bias towards satellite operators. COAI argues the recommendation are non-transparent, based on flawed assumption, and creates an uneven level playing field. They also object to differential spectrum pricing, advocating parity between terrestrial and satellite services. Now, if you read this, they are saying that it favors satellite companies over homegrown terrestrial operator. There's TRAI recommendation. And then it says that, the TRAI recommendation, is based on flawed assumption, right? The reality is reality that it competes with terrestrial network is flawed. So there will be a substantial regulatory arbitrage. So read this. If you can read this article and you'll see that so many points of level playing field, etc. have been raised. So friends, what I did was I put a PPT, right, which I converted into PDF for the purpose of easy to present. So if you look at this PPT, the title of the PPT is COAI versus Starlink. We are going to break down the misinformation one claim at a time. So just be with me and you will understand that how hilarious this whole claims are. I never laughed so much in my life when I saw that letter. So just be with me and we will do a factual accuracy check what COAI is alleging. So COAI allegation is TRAI is biased and non-transparent, right? Now TRAI has come out with so many recommendations. Some has favored COAI, some has not favored COAI. So by labeling TRAI as biased and non-transparent, you are actually leveling an attack on the regulator. You can criticize the regulator, but this is a direct attack on the regulator without any substantial proof. See, I am always criticizing all government institutions, but all criticism has to be based on facts. It has to be an healthy criticism. You can't be saying that your regulator is biased and non-transparent. I have never expected a body, a responsible body like COAI, making an allegation against Indian regulator as biased and non-transparent. It is unthinkable, right? I can't even think of like that. So claim is TRAI is biased in favor of satellite operators and has not followed a transparent process. I can't even imagine. TRAI has been discussing for years together. There have been so many rounds of consultation. And COI is saying TRAI is biased and non-transparent. Now, the fact is, TRAI published a 203-page recommendation based on stakeholders' input and data. Now, if TRAI has been biased and non-transparent, COI should have been published a complete one booklet of corrigendum on what is biased and what is non-transparent. Instead of writing just 1 page or 2-page letter, I don't know what they have written. Maybe they have already done it. No newspaper has captured it. But I would definitely like to see how TRAI is biased and non-transparent, right? Which will be very interesting to see when COI is making this allegation. If TRAI is biased here, then all recommendation becomes questionable because all TRAI recommendation is following a similar strategy or a practice which TRAI has followed as regards satellite. I have read through the whole recommendation. I don't see it is biased and non-transparent. At least non-transparent is an allegation which does not even stand. Everything has been put out transparently. COI offers no definition of unbiased, hollow posturing. Then COI's allegation, flawed assumption. It is based on flawed assumption. COI is saying that whatever TRAI has said is based on flawed assumption. So claim is TRAI recommendation rests on flawed assumption. Fact is TRAI's recommendation is based on the Telecommunication Act of 2023, which says that satellite spectrum can be given administratively. Now, if satellite spectrum has to be given administratively, only thing that is possible to set is the spectrum usage charge. Now, when you auction spectrum, you set the spectrum usage charge as 0% because of the telecom package of 2021. Now, our satellite, they have set it at 4% because this was a practice which DOT has been following for all users, captive users. They have been charging at 4%. So TRAI put that 4% number on satellite spectrum usage charge also. And this, by the way, this is actually in contradiction to what TRAI has recommended earlier. If you look at all the TRAI recommendation in past, they have been talking about satellite spectrum usage charge should be 1%. Even BSNL sui generis services have been charged at 1%. So they actually have elevated the spectrum usage charge from 1% to 4%. So it is so hilarious, right? And 0% for auction spectrum. Whenever you auction spectrum, 0% SUC charge. And on top of it, TRAI has put a 500 rupees extra charge per subscriber on top of 4% for urban subscriber, right? In order to create a level playing field between urban and terrestrial and the satellite players in the urban area. COI offers no specific alternative assumption. So should this SUC be 10%, 20%, 100%, or maybe 200%? So let them do the calculation and show what kind of SUC should be, because TRAI has been consistently recommending 1% SUC for satellite player. You look at all the past recommendations, right? And they have raised it by 4 times now, which is very, very funny. And that's why I find this allegation, without any substance. Now, the third allegation is favoritism to satellite. TRAI claim, the claim is TRAI is favoring foreign satellite players over Indian telco. Now, friends, this is really hilarious. I really can't even imagine. Now, the fact is that all these Indian telcos are running satellite companies. Now, Bharti has got OneWeb. Reliance Jio has got SES. Now, are these satellite companies just smokescreen? Are they doing any real business? Or they are just a placeholder to just show the world that we also have satellite? Now, if TRAI is coming out with a favoritism to satellite players, is it not a favoritism to Bharti's OneWeb? Is it not can be called as a favoritism to Reliance Jio's SES? So what are these businesses? They should close down this business then. Bharti should close down OneWeb then. Reliance Jio should close down SES, because if this recommendation of TRAI is favoring satellite players and they are interested in only the telecom business, which is the terrestrial business, then why the hell these companies are, what is the purpose of this company? Why waste so much amount of time and resources in running a satellite company, right? COI members should answer this question, right? So are they opposing their own ventures, conflict or contradiction, right? Then the fourth allegation is satellite companies compete with telco. Now, friends, this is so hilarious. I can't even imagine that anybody can make such statement. I don't know who drafts COI letter. They are misinformed. I do not know. Somebody who is doing a script, they have no technical understanding or deliberately misleading the whole world. Now, friends, I'll show you one article which came out very, very recently. This article came out, which quotes DOT officials saying that according to report, NDTV Profit, citing official sources, Starlink plans to offer a capacity of 600 to 700 Gbps per second of bandwidth to Indian users initially. However, the initial beaming capacity will support only 30K to 50K users at a time. And then they will scale it up to 3000 Gbps, right? In next year, maybe then incrementally they will scale. Now, let's compare this Starlink capacity versus what capacity that Indian telecom operators holding terrestrial spectrum, which is 26 gigahertz band, has. Because they're also holding 26 gigahertz band. They spent 7,000 crores for that particular spectrum, right? So let's compare the capacity. Now we have got Starlink capacity of 700 Gbps. Year 1 and year 2 is 3000 Gbps. India has got how many base stations? India has got around 3 million base stations, 30 lakh base stations. Assume that 5% of these base stations will be on 26 gigahertz band. Just make an assumption, which means per BTS of 26 gigahertz band, let's assume that it will have 30 Gbps capacity, right? Now 30 Gbps, why 30 Gbps? Because if you look at the Reliance Jio's recent submission to the stock exchange, for 3.5 gigahertz band, they are giving a capacity of data throughput of 1 Gbps. The 3.5 gigahertz band has got 100 megahertz of spectrum. This 26 gigahertz band has got how much spectrum? 1000 megahertz of spectrum. So 10 times. So what I have done is I simply multiplied 1 into 10 and then multiplied by 3 because there are 3 sectors. So per BTS of 26 gigahertz band will have 30 Gbps, and you will have how many base stations? 5% of 3 million, 150K base stations. So the total capacity will be 1400 terabits versus how much Starlink will have in year 1? 700. So and if you divide this by 3, assume that per telco it will be 1500 because this is the total capacity, because this is the total number of BTS, 3 million. 5% 150K total BTS in 26 gigahertz band. So each telco will have 1500 terabits of capacity. Now, if you multiply this, so if you divide this by this is going to be how much? This is Gbps, this is terabit. It's almost like 500 times. 500 times capacity per operator, right? Which they have, right? Because versus Starlink of 3 Gbps capacity, because I have taken 3 Gbps capacity, not 700. In the year 2. So if you divide this, it is almost like 500 times, right? Because 3 multiplied for 15, right? So this is like David versus Goliath scenario. And they are saying this COI allegation says satellite, the satellite is, their allegation is satellite will compete with telco. Satellite does not even have capacity. They will have only 3000 Gbps capacity versus the capacity of 1500 terabits per second for a cellular terrestrial operator, which is so funny. The allegation, the fifth allegation of COI is regulatory arbitrage. The claim is spectrum rules create unfair regulatory arbitrage. Now, friends, let me ask you a question. And this you should ask the COI operators. The 2022 auction was the biggest regulatory arbitrage. Why? Because when they bought 26 gigahertz band, in one of my video I told you the SUC charges for access spectrum was 4%. And because the 26 gigahertz band had 0% SUC, the weighted average spectrum charges went from 4% to 0.4%. At that time, COI did not say that the regulator actually, when they came out with the recommendation, or the government came out with the telecommunication package of 2021, it was a regulatory arbitrage for, against those ISP operators, right? Or the other operators, maybe they are not paying SUC charges, but they are small. And you have completely removed the SUC charges. You have given so much amount of advantage to the telecom operators, as if that 2022, if you go to one of my video, you will find that Bharti, who paid 40,000 crores or in the spectrum auction of 2022, and if you do an NPV calculation on the saving of because of the SUC, actually the government ended up paying 5,000 crores to Bharti. Similarly, Reliance pays around 80,000 crores plus 82,000 crores. Reliance ended up saving 40,000 crores in the 2022 auction because of this SUC arbitrage, right? Where 4% was brought down to 0.4%. Now, Starlink SUC is 4%. Yes, they are not paying for auction, that we understand. But we also have to understand that spectrum that they are holding is not an exclusive spectrum. It is shared spectrum. So if it is a shared spectrum, if they are not paying for 7,000 crores of rupees, they are also paying for, they are also limiting their capacity. They really don't have the capacity. So that spectrum can't be compared in an apples to apples manner with 26 gigahertz band, resulting in 500 plus times more capacity versus the spectrum that they have. The satellite players have, who they can't even harness that spectrum to that capacity. And therefore, how can that be a level playing condition? Because number of satellites which are going to be seen over the surface of India is going to be minuscule compared to the number of base stations which the COI operators will be able to deploy on ground, because the frequency reuse, which is nothing but the harnessing capacity. The more the number of base stations, more capacity you can harness from a particular spectrum band, which satellite players can't. So how can you compare satellite spectrum with terrestrial spectrum, right? Summary is what COAI really wants. COAI defends dominance, not fairness. The letter that COAI sent to the government of India is the biggest disservice that COAI has done to its member and its own credibility. Because when you write such letter, which is deprived of facts, you are actually creating a perception to the whole world that your organization does not believe in facts or rational regulation or narratives, and kind of advocacy has to be rational so that people can look towards your statement and view them as credible statement. Otherwise, you are just an agency, stating, just writing letters without depriving of any kind of supporting arguments and facts. Right? So all that you have written is completely reverse, as in my presentation, which you can clearly see the facts are totally in the opposite direction. It also opposes Wi-Fi 6, unlicensed spectrum, but uses unlicensed spectrum to drive broadband FWA, which Reliance Jio recently in their submission to the stock market in the BSE, claiming that their UBR is able to deliver 1 Gbps of data, and they are happily using UBR, and they are opposing Wi-Fi spectrum in 6 gigahertz band. Which in one of my video, I told you that 6 gigahertz band is actually going to help the COI members to unlock capacity within the homes, because the outdoor capacity of terrestrial spectrum is so high that home Wi-Fi will become a bottleneck. Sees new access model as threat, not opportunity. So this kind of advocacy is shooting on your own foot. India needs broader connectivity, not turf wars. This kind of turf war does not help anybody. You write letters like this, people will not give any serious. People will not be viewing those letters seriously who understand facts. Even TRAI is going to put that letter in a dustbin, right? Because it makes no sense. It is deprived of all fact. TRAI did whatever it could under the current circumstances. Now, if you have to criticize, just like I do, you pick up the facts and criticize TRAI on facts rather than making a blanket statement. So the conclusion is, let's enable, not gatekeeper. Don't act as gatekeeper, which is what we are seeing with what agencies like COI is doing. They are acting like gatekeepers, opposing everything, every positive. Whatever does not fit their members, they will oppose. Whether even something which will help their members also, they will oppose. That is not the right kind of advocacy. It is going to creating harm to themselves and to our country. So TRA is following a law. Recommendations are balanced. In my view, it is balanced, right? Though I would definitely like the SUC charges of 4% to be brought down to 1%, consistent with what COI has been TRA has been recommending in past. Satcom complements mobile broadband. Why? I showed you in my Excel sheet. People who have watched my channel will see that this is the limiting point. This is what prevents satellite players to harness or take on subscribers, because the number of subscribers the satellite players can take is limited by the total capacity that they will be able to drive, which is driven by the number of satellites that are visible on the surface of India at a time. That is the limiting factor, right? They can't have the capability to do frequency reuse like what a terrestrial players can do, because they can deploy millions of base stations. Satellite players can only deploy some thousands of satellites, and in India only 0.8% of the satellite will be visible, not more than 100, right? In year 2036, right? So friends, spectrum pricing should reflect technology, use case, and scalability, not fear. India's digital future is fiber plus mobile broadband plus FWA plus satellite. That's how we should look at it. All forms of communication should be enabled, because it is not possible for the terrestrial players or the mobile broadband players to reach out each and every part of the country, where satellite players will require to provide broadband services, and satellite players have got their own constraint because of capacity, and their uplink speeds are very, very limited, in which I told you that it can't go beyond 25 Gbps, whereas in terrestrial players the uplink and downlink speeds are symmetrical, which Reliance claims, which means that people will prefer the terrestrial connectivity first, then going for satellite, and that too the satellite pricing will be very, very high. So that's all, friend, in this video. I hope that you like this video, and maybe some of the statement which COI has made has been clarified. And if you have any comments, let me know in your comment section. And thanks for listening till the end. Thank you very much, and I'll come back with a new video next time on a new topic.